Hey guys, welcome back. Drip Coach here, where we don't trust, we verify, and operate with integrity and transparency. Today's clip, we're unpacking one of the clips or rants from Jack. This one's 2 weeks old, if I'm not mistaken, but I like, again, his style because no one that I follow, and I'm not following everybody, obviously, but breaks it down like he does. And the big thing in here is to unpack is that the game that is being played is not the one you're hearing in the news and the narratives and all that stuff. It's actually kind of leads into his most recent clip or Money Mailbag Mondays that he did, where it's about when they can't print money, they're going to print propaganda. So I'm not going to go into that, but this one specifically talks about kind of the relationship between China and the US and what has to be done and what that means. And I realize the more that I start digging into the content that Jack is putting out and understanding the fiat money game and understanding Bitcoin, sound money principles, you start to really get into low noise, no signal. So I cannot stand being in the same room or talking to people that are just all noise. All they do is parrot the stuff from the mainstream media, and they have no clue. Like, they're just so plugged into the matrix that they cannot see the other side of the coin. They can only digest one piece. And it reminds me of, again, that quote from the Matrix where I think was it Agent Smith? No, I think it was Morpheus. He said that some people can't be unplugged because they're so dependent on the system that unplugging them would actually kill them. Their brain would, rot or wouldn't be able to handle the change. And I feel like those are the people that I am slowly distancing myself from, be it friends, family, co-workers, whatever, it doesn't matter, because I just can't stand that. I'm gonna call it victim mentality, but if you read the book Grit by Carol Dweck. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank on her name. Not Dweck, Angela Duckworth. But she talks about basically a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And I see all these people that are parroting and responding to the noise as essentially a fixed mindset. And yeah, I just can't stand it. But anyway, that was just a little segue to give you some insight on how my brain works and why I find this kind of content fascinating. So we're gonna play this clip about where Jack is explaining the relationship between China and the US and how he put in this headline here, China puts the West on death watch.
Again, enjoy the rest of the video.
All right, so a lot of what we've been talking about on the show, I don't know, recent months, recent weeks, the trade war at large has centered around the US versus China. And really, it is this hyper-financialized world reserve currency issuer that has hollowed out its industrial base, that doesn't produce anything for themselves anymore. Yes, I'm talking about the United States of America. Hyper-financialized on both coasts. You've got West Coast that builds all the technology in Silicon Valley. They've hyper-financialized massive concentrations of wealth through technology. And then you've got the East Coast hyper-financialization, which is Wall Street. Hyper-financializing, building financial products, growing our financial markets. The middle of America is dead. It's shot. It's rot. It's the Rust Belt. It's gone old. All of those jobs are in China. Now, China is the opposite. The yuan is always weak. Okay, China's economy is the furthest thing from something that you could claim to be robust necessarily. They endure a lot of pain over there, but they are the world's factory. China produces everything for everyone, including the United States. And so you kind of have these two massive states colliding and crashing over a trade war. The US, their desire is to persist. The Pax Americana empire, they want to remain the world reserve currency issuer. They want everyone to bow down and buy their debt and finance the lifestyle of the rich and famous American. And China represents everyone else, more or less. It says that we're over this whole deal of having to buy your debt, having to get taxed via inflation, having to basically subsidize American exceptionalism. And that is really the trade war. And the middle of the trade war is about rare earths. So first of all, I found this diagram helpful. This is created by the United States of America themselves. And it goes to show how involved Chinese suppliers are in our military, okay? So if you look at the far right, you can see Chinese supplier count. And in the far left, you can see the system. So we've got Tomahawks, JSSMs. You can see the contractor, the subcontractor. The point is Chinese suppliers in US air-launched armament supply chains. This was as soon as 2 years ago. They're in everything. And so one of the biggest pieces of friction is that China makes everything for the United States. They make all of our weapons, all of our technology, your iPhone, your desk, your computer, your clothes, your cars, everything. And not the high level. you drive a Tesla, Elon Musk technically made that. But who made the chip inside the Tesla? China did, okay? So this graphic goes to show just how reliant we are down to our military. Because one thing, and we'll get into it, that the United States has not been shy about is that if people disagree with the United States, they have no problem dropping a bomb on your head. As an American.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit before we go in more detail. So I actually remember these acronyms from the military. I don't know exactly what branch does what, but this is like Joint Anti-Surface Strike Surface Missile, something like that. And this one was Long Range Anti-Ship Missile, I believe. The JDAM was like Joint Air Direct Attack Missile. But the point is that like this one's stealth, this one's for ships, and this one is taking like regular bombs, turning them into precision missiles, essentially. But the point is this is all for warfare. And when you look over here, like he highlighted, it's like you got this missile, then you got two prime contractors, Lockheed Martin and Northrop, and then from there, the actual components, right? Data links, electronics, propulsion, secret software, structure, testing, all these different pieces for this one missile from these two contractors goes to these hundreds of different suppliers, all of which are in China. Now, this may only show the Chinese supply chain. Like there could be, you know, one or two data links that come from India or somewhere else. But the whole point of this is to show that we are in bed with China for our tech and war machine. And this is what we also saw with the tariffs that Trump threatened for 100% and then immediately walked back. Because not only, as Jack mentioned, but not only as this diagram shows, is it war, but it's literally rare earths protect for everything. So again, the Tesla or any smart nav system for any vehicle, any chip for any vehicle is most likely coming from China. So if we say, hey, China, we're gonna hit you with 100% tariffs, they can say, fine. Good luck making an iPhone. Good luck making an Android phone. Good luck manufacturing any cars, because we could just choke off that entire supply chain. So it's like, yeah, we can threaten tariffs with like every other country, but like Jack mentioned, and again, this is why I love listening to his content because nobody's talking about this. We don't produce anything. We have no bargaining power. We just have the money because we're the global reserve currency and we can print more of it. So we could just say, hey, I'll buy more of your stuff. But if the person says, I'm not giving you any more fucking stuff, what do you have? You have nothing. And that's what Trump ran on. He ran on, oh, we need to reindustrialize. We need to bring stuff back. And that makes perfect sense. This is why, again, I travel, why I'm living in other countries, because other countries are not solely dependent on their neighbors. They do actually produce stuff in their country. And if it's not directly in their border, it is with their next door neighbor, and it's a fair trade back and forth. For example, a lot of produce came from Vietnam into Cambodia. But rest assured, there was textiles and other stuff leaving from Cambodia going to Vietnam. And like some of the actual, if I know for a fact, like cashews. So the processing was done in Vietnam, but the harvesting was done in Cambodia. So it's like, yo, we need one another. We can't shut this down. But the US is on the other side of that. They have nothing to bargain with. And again, kind of like Jack says, I'm not anti-American or anything like that, but this is the real deal. So you need to lift up the hood and look underneath to see what cards are actually being held. And that's why everybody believes there will be a deal struck, because we're getting to the end of Trump's first year and next year is the midterms. Therefore, deals have to be done. The war has to be over. The money printer has to be on. All these things need to be bullish in order for them to get reelected. Like, it's just common sense, right? So this all will come to a head. This will finalize. China will get the deal that they want, which is basically neutral tariffs like the rest of the world has, rather than 90%, 100%, or whatever we have given them based off of this historic non-reciprocal tariffs. It's like, yeah, we may have had the worst part of the deal for the last couple of decades, but we can't fix that now. It's like too late. China does have the bargaining power.
One thing, and we'll get into it, that the United States has not been shy about, bomb on your head. As an American, I am not proud of the fact that that has been part of our strategy over the last, I was going to say decade, couple decades, maybe the last century. But listen, I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm not up, I'm not down, I'm orange, I'm Bitcoiner, I'm here to tell you the truth. The US has we have gone so far down the fiat, we are such fiat maximalists, us, the United States. No proof of work, no low time preference. We don't do anything, sit on our butt for the last 40 years and print money and hyper financialize to trick and confuse people with all these levered derivative bond market bullshit products to continue to kick the can down the road. One day, the chickens come home to roost. Today is that day, guys. We don't have the military leverage. We don't have the industrial leverage. We don't have the negotiating leverage. We're going to have to print a bunch of money, unwind from being the world reserve currency, and get back to proof of work and living from the work that we do for ourselves. This is the end of fiat as we know it. The end of fiat as we know it. And the beginning of something different. Now, us Bitcoiners think Bitcoin's going to be a part of that. We'll see. We have to reindustrialize. The post $71 is over. Fiat as we know it is over. We're going back to neutral reserve assets. We have to go back to proof of work. We have to start making our own stuff again. None of this is a debate. All of this is facts. We're living through it today. The one point I want to make to you guys is we can't manipulate time, and how the hell are we going to pay for it? Because as Bitcoiners, this is what really matters to us. Not even as Bitcoiners, as humans. Governments inflating our time and energy away, our hard work. Because guys, again, money is your time and energy in an abstracted form. The money that you have is a reflection of you, your contributions to those around you, right? When you get up and you go to work, listen, you don't go to the beach every day. You don't lay around and drink milkshakes. You don't just lounge by the pool. Everyone listening to this gets up and does shit for those around them, creates value, produces something to the market. And in return for that, you get money. And so therefore, money is your time and energy in an abstracted form.
And just going to end it there, because that's also, again, this principle that I keep coming back to from Jeff Booth, that if we lived in a sound money environment where the money wasn't broken, the only way you would be able to get paid, and the only way you'd be able to collect some form of money would be in exchange for adding more value to someone else or someone's else, right? Because everyone is competing for that share of the value pie. So if all of us have, let's just call that the 21 million Bitcoin, and that's all that's out there, the only way I'm going to give you more of my Bitcoin is if the thing you're doing gives me more value than the price it is in Satoshis. Same way right now, I've always told this kind of example, is that in the current fiat realm, you either have more time than money or more money than time. And if you have more money than time, then you're willing to spend that to get more time. You're willing to buy automation. You're willing to hire an assistant for your job. You're willing to pay someone to clean your house. Like, you have more money. So you're like, I don't want to spend my time cleaning my house, cooking food, writing emails. I'm going to hire people to do that. And it would be the same way with Bitcoin, except for the difference with Bitcoin is that the prices of those things are going to fall to the lowest production value, meaning whoever can produce and offer that good or service the cheapest, the fastest, the best, they will get those sats. So that's why Jeff says in that global free market, prices of goods fall forever. You are constantly growing your economic value, your principal, your wealth, while everything else is falling against that. And we've never lived in that environment. We have no idea how to wrap our heads around that. And so, like in Jack's point, I was gonna say Max Mahler's, he's like, yeah, you can't, the US can only print dollars. They cannot manipulate the time to mine a block, or as he goes on to say, to grow an 18-year-old, it takes 18 years. So to industrialize, to bring people into that workforce of the middle class, it's going to take time. Now, the only difference I say that Jack didn't echo comes from Raoul Pal, which is, this is where the AI revolution meets the aging demographic workforce. So if you don't have the ability to print 18-year-olds, you do have the ability to print robots, and that's what we're seeing. There's a huge push, and this is why Rao says he can't see past the year 2030, 32, somewhere in there, because with infinite knowledge being cheaper and more available, that's AI, and then infinite labor being cheaper and more available, that's robotics and AI. What does that look like for the investor or the average employee or work person? We have no idea, because we've never had those two things. So this is different than the previous economic booms of like the industrial age and all that stuff, because we've never had infinite knowledge with scale of infinite free labor. And as that rolls out, the marginal cost of that is energy. So if energy continues to come down as well, it's like, holy shit, what does this do to our entire model? And yeah, that's the everything code. That's kind of packing all these different things together. Jeff Booth and Jack Mallers, Raoul Powell. This is why I listen to all these different guys, because they're all parroting the same thing from different perspectives. And if you can get that into your head, you don't have to understand it, but just capture the dialogue. It'll slowly start to reframe your perspective as well. All right, smash that HBO special, help a brother out, like, subscribe, comment down below. And until next time, lift daily and achieve your impossible.